Happy Friday, everyone. You get through another week. I'm AJ here with Zach, and we welcome you guys to our Friday episode. The Cardinals and Rockies series has been very interesting, to say the least. So we will be diving into that, as well as other news from around the MLB. The NHL had a few notable signings this week, so we will be listing those off. And then we'll finish off with some NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Zach's home team there in Jacksonville, is our next NFL team to predict, along with our top 10 running back rankings. And Zach, how's your week going?
It's going good. It's been busy at work. Been having a lot of cases, making plates, having to make changes for surgeons because they just want to move a hole like a millimeter, which to me is kind of dumb, but I'm not a surgeon, so it's kind of annoying, but it's all good.
Yeah, you've been able to watch a lot of Cardinals?
Been
late.
Yeah, it's been late. I watched some of the Colorado, or honestly, when I turned it on, the first game of the series against Colorado is when CJ Cron hit a 3-run homer, and then they just kept scoring. Then I just turned it off. Yesterday we were up, and I turned it off and watched something else, which is my Did You See It? Yeah. Which I'll just go ahead and say my Did You See It is I watched Did You See Hard Knocks?
Get it started. I didn't see it.
It was really good. Really good. Dan Campbell is the GOAT. He is awesome. So intense, just ultimate football guy. It was great. Aiden Hutchinson had so like the rookies, they made the rookies like come up and say their signing bonus, how much money their signing bonus was, then either like sing a song. He sang a song, then another rookie came up and like did a dance. And he sang Billie Jean, and he got the whole, he was dancing, he was singing. He got the whole like auditorium, the whole team, they're all like singing around, singing and like dancing. And then this one guy takes off his shirt and like throws it. And then there's a guy like in the front row like this who just like he like casually catches it and then starts waving it in the air. And it was awesome. It was one of the best. I haven't watched a ton of Hard Knocks, but because I didn't have HBO until last year, but it was really good.
I saw one clip from I don't know if it was an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator getting into it.
Yeah, they're just going back and forth. Just
like
not like they're actually mad at each other. They're just competitive for fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have another. Did you see it? I just it's about Antonio Brown. Okay. And this is his biggest regret.
Oh no.
I'm gonna have to read this. My biggest regret in my career doesn't involve calling my GM, I'm not going to say that, or showing up to Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet, or throwing rocks at that UPS driver. And it definitely doesn't involve taking my shirt off and doing a victory lap around the Jets stadium mid-game while throwing up deuces. My biggest regret is that I'll never get to see me, Antonio Brown, play a game live. Sure, I can watch the game afterwards, but I can't imagine what that was like for you all to see something like that. Like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rocks.
Oh my gosh.
Classic Antonio Brown.
That's his biggest regret. Oh my god.
It doesn't surprise me though.
No, it doesn't surprise me either.
Like mentally crazy.
My god. You know, he's gonna be a name several years from now. I mean, I'm thinking about it now. That we're gonna say is like the one of the biggest what ifs. He had the talent to be.
I don't know if it's what ifs. He was like, a lot of good years.
Yeah, he definitely himself. But like, would you put him in like with the best receivers ever conversation? Because I wouldn't.
No.
But if we're talking about like a 5-year span, I mean, you could say that. But yeah, he's a nut, man. Is he crazy? I mean, what's the latest update on him? Is he done?
I guess. I don't know.
Was the Jets incident when he ran off the field?
Yeah. When he just
last time we saw
quit, quit mid-game.
That was the last time we saw him?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Dang. Well, on another note, my Did You See It was the Double-A first baseman for the Cardinals last night. I know you saw this. Chandler Redmond. He's 25 years old in Double-A. Don't know if he'll ever make it. But after last night, a lot of people know his name. That's for sure.
Yes.
5 for 6, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs. Not only that, he hit a solo homer, a 2-run homer, a 3-run homer, and then hit a grand slam to top it off. And my dad made a good point. Why are you pitching to the guy at the end of the game? Like
Yeah,
you got
for
to
real.
work around them. But yeah, I thought that was super interesting. And Danny Mac said a stat last night. It's the second home run cycle
Hmm.
in pro baseball history. The other one was also in Double A. I think he said against us.
Oh, really?
In Double A. Yeah,
That's
the
weird. That's in
Arkansas
double A.
Travelers. Yeah,
My
yeah.
my friend texted me. He was saying like, "Did you see what he did?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he replied, "He used all of his luck on one game. He's never making it to the MLB now."
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I thought he was. I could have sworn he was batting like 280 down there, but after I looked and read up on it, he was batting like 230. Yeah, he used it like your guy said. He used it all night. But I'm gonna pull up the pickle here because we've
The
been
pickle.
pretty successful with it. Um,
I don't
so I
believe.
just want to start off with who we're going to talk about quite a bit in just a second here, Albert Pujols. After what he did last night, let's get started with Albert. And that was a terrible, terrible start. And I should have known that because he's 42 years old, so that doesn't help out with age
It doesn't
whatsoever.
help at all.
No,
The closest they could be is 39.
that was a terrible guess. All we got from that is that he bats right-handed, he throws right-handed, not in the NL Central. There's not yellow over it either, which makes me believe it's in the American League, not a Cardinal, obviously, not Dominican Republic, not a DH.
Mm,
One heck of a start.
yeah, at least we know what he throws right and bats right. That really helps
Yeah,
out.
narrows it down.
That really narrows it down.
What are you thinking?
Oh, I'm trying to think of someone that's like 30 years old who bats. Mike Trout.
Okay, we can do it. Mike Trout. There's a yellow in the AL West, so it's either the NL West or around the American League. But there wasn't a yellow on the National League, so it's American League. Bats right, throws right. Born in the U.S. Not 31 and in that square, and not a center fielder.
Mike Trout's 31.
Unbelievable, right? Just
Yeah.
time flying by. I'm leaning American League. No, it would have been a yellow. I'm leaning American League East. There's been a lot of players from there though that we've had. American League East. I'm gonna go Orioles. How old's Ryan Mountcastle?
I have no idea.
It is the American League East. He's only 25. And there's a yellow within the 25. So he's within 2 years of 25 years old.
Not on the Orioles.
Not on the Orioles, but American League East, righty, born in the U.S. Not a first baseman. You got Rays, Blue Jays. I mean, what about someone like Bo Bichette?
Yeah, do Bo Bichette. I was trying to think of an American player on the Rays.
I think he's from Florida, I think. Bo Bichette. It's okay. It's Toronto, American League East, obviously. Righty, born in the U.S. There's not a yellow in the 20, and he's 24 years old. So it's either 20 or 27. And then he's not a shortstop.
Alejandro Kirk's not 27. He's young, right?
I think he's 23.
Hmm.
And it's not Vladdy. Vladdy
George
was born
Springer.
in
No,
Canada.
he's like 30. Put it in anyway. YOLO.
Springer? Oh, it's not a center fielder.
Oh yeah, never mind.
What about Gurriel?
Is he from America?
No, you're right. That's yes, true.
Who's
Who
their
would it
backup
be?
catcher?
Danny Jansen.
Is he right-handed?
Yes.
Boom,
That's
that's
right.
it. Calling
We
it.
got a couple guesses. Bingo. It's Danny Jansen.
Let's go.
Dang, that's good. I was running out of players because everybody is like Hispanic or born in Canada or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. Danny Jansen. Pulled that one out of
Let's
nowhere.
go.
So
He used to be their starting catcher before on MLB The Show.
He
before
was.
Kirk.
He was. You remember? I remember him because he always wear those goggles.
Oh yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so by the way, we do have the Cardinals on in the background. It's 2-2 in the 6th inning. Got a couple guys on. Paul DeYoung just struck out. Looks like
Tyler O'Neill's up right now.
Looks like Hudson.
I guess I'm ahead of you.
Today. Yeah, you're a little ahead of me. But This is, like I mentioned in the intro, a very interesting series so far. Let's start with game one. Like you mentioned, you turned it off right away. I don't blame you one bit. We lost 16-5. Michaelis gave up 10 runs in 2 2/3. His ERA has risen to 3.55, I believe it was. My couple takeaways before I hand it off to you is O'Neill, who I'm looking at the screen right now, is 0 for 2 with a couple strikeouts today. He was extremely unlucky in game one. Hit 4 with 3 lineouts. Left his bat literally all 3 times. I was watching with my family, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's a gapper. And it was like they had Grichuk shifted over or Blackman shifted over, and it was right to him, which extremely unlucky. And then my other takeaway was Paulie D, which I'm sure you're really high on Paul. It seems like you talk about him quite a bit. So, but yeah, he's red hot, which is really good to see him coming back. But also, as we get into game 2 of the series in Colorado
again.
Did he really?
Mm.
Goodness. But in Colorado, it really just takes you hitting gaps or getting under the ball and driving it out to get really hot. Because Michaelis wasn't like, they weren't really hard hit balls. Crone destroyed that baseball. It was like 450. But everything else was like
Ryan McMahon hit one 495 feet.
Yes, besides that also. But what were your takeaways? I know you didn't watch much of game 1, but
yeah, I didn't watch it because we were losing, and I was like, I'm not watching this. Like we were down like 10-0.
Yeah.
Like bad games happen. I'm not worried about Michaelis. They were also saying on the broadcast that in the altitude you can't get as much spin or break on your breaking balls either.
Mm-hmm.
So also it's Coors, so like anyone can get just shellacked as a pitcher. But I think Michaelis is going to be fine. Like he's pitched fine the whole year. This is his one bad game. Everyone has a bad game unless you're Sandy Alcantara.
Mm-hmm. What's the last star Colorado Rockies pitcher you can think of? I could think of Ubaldo Jimenez. Remember how dominant he was?
But his ERA was still like 3.5.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't remember another one. John Gray was pretty good there. Now he's in Texas. But besides that, I couldn't think of anyone.
Yeah, if you keep your ERA under 4 for Colorado, you're considered an all-star pitcher.
It's unbelievable. And I mean, they've changed it. I know when we were younger, it was like literally home run derby there. So they've fixed it a little bit with the humidor, but it's still crazy. Because there was a stretch in game 1 where we were down 10-0. I think it got to 12-0. And then we cut it to like 12-5. And we had the bases loaded. And I'm thinking one swing of the bat and we're 3 runs. And it was just like, it's anything can happen in that ballpark. But
I think they should just move back the walls so it's 400 down the line.
Yeah, just make it
450 in center.
We don't have to talk much more about game 1 though, because game 2 was very, very fun to watch and great to see. Quintana impressed once again. 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts. Albert Pujols against Kyle Freeland, the lefty killer, 4 for 5 with a homer and 2 RBIs. Arenado 3 for 5. I think it was 3 hits. They were both a triple away from the cycle. He had a homer and 2 RBIs. Lars Nootbaar a couple triples. He stole their triples away from him.
Yeah, Nootbaar's on a different level.
Oh man, he's been so good for us. And then Paul DeJong was also 4 for 5. And then game 3 is on.
His average is almost at 200, I think.
Man, yeah. He got I don't think he has a hit today so far. I was thinking he had one, but I don't think so. Is Hudson out right now? I'm watching this live.
Yeah, Hicks is in.
Okay. Yeah, I see it now. Hudson 5 innings, 2 runs. We didn't mention it, but the bullpen is very rested. Packy Naughton pitched the rest of game 1. Or no, he didn't. Who pitched after Michaelis in game 1? Oh, it was former Cardinal now, TJ McFarland.
Oh, did he pitch?
Yes, because he got rocked around again. I'm like, this has to be the final straw for him. Which he was, again, I kind of want to give him his praise a little bit because last year he helped us so much. But we've mentioned it. He has the type of stuff, not the blow away stuff, that if he's not locating and he keeps it up at all, like Coors Field is the worst possible place for him to pitch.
A soft tossing person who doesn't have any movement, just home run derby.
So they also mentioned, and I think I heard it correctly. So the Brewers are in town next, Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend, and I'm sure the place is going to be kind of like the Yankees series, going to be packed. Probably not as packed because it was the Yankees coming to town, but
Yeah.
still a very important series because the Brewers swept the Rays for only one game behind us, if not tied with us right now. So, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought. Oh, they mentioned that we were going to face a couple lefties this weekend, which means a couple things. First, we as a team kill lefties,
Oh
and
yes.
and second of all, that means a lot of number 5 in the lineups.
Oh yeah. When I play MLB The Show and it's a left-hander pitching, I'm like, let's go. But
Yeah,
I usually demolish them and they're out in like the third inning.
I know. I was just thinking that because I've played a lot of the show lately, and I was thinking, uh, all they show like the stats of like Dylan Carlson against left-handed pitching or against righty, and it seemed like every single guy is like destroying left-handed pitching, and I'm batting like 220 with everybody against right-handed pitching, and it's real life. I mean, not to the extent of the right-handed pitching, but we kill lefties. Like it's not just Albert.
It's yeah.
I mean,
I have been thinking about something for a couple days because Carlson against lefties is batting like 340, and against righties he's batting like 200. When do you just give up being a switch hitter? Because I think he literally just swings the bat better right-handed.
yeah, I remember the same Dylan Car or not, you just said Dylan. Dexter Fowler. He had splits like that also. I was gonna ask you as you played in high school, did you seem like you hit lefties better than righties?
I don't remember. I just
'Cause
saw the ball and hit the ball.
I always seem like I saw it better out of their hand. That like away slider from righties,
Yeah.
I could not see it out of a hand, and I was
Yeah,
like
it is harder to
whiffing.
see.
It's kind of like a lefty lefty.
Hmm.
That's something we never, as a league, talked like lefty specialist, right? Like there wasn't that like righty specialist because there were so many righties.
I always think
guess.
it's funny how right-handed hitters, you never worry about them when they're facing a right-handed pitcher, but then it's like a left-handed batter gets up and they put a left-handed, it's like
I
you have
know,
no chance at getting a hit.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's crazy. But like as we said, game 3 is on right now. Also, I don't know if you saw it. I sent it to you late last night. You were already asleep, but Jordan Walker, number 1 prospect for the Cardinals, saw our Instagram story, which is
Oh yeah.
pretty dope. So we've had Walker see it, we've had Michaelis see it, we've had Mason Wynn see it, we've had I think there was one more.
Our pools.
Albert, yeah. But yeah, cool stuff. Anything else about the Cardinals before we wrap up the MLB segment here?
I think we're looking good. Hopefully we can pull out this game. And I think we're gonna go on like I know we had that winning streak, but I think we're just gonna keep winning more games than we lose, basically. Always be over 500 for like the last 10 games. When you look at like ESPN or CBS, you always look at the team's last 10 games. I think we'll always be above 500.
Yep. Well said. Because you mentioned that was kind of just a dud on what was that, Tuesday night with Michaelis. Nothing was really hard hit besides those couple homers. A lot of I think he gave up 14 hits in those two and two thirds.
Crazy.
It's such a hard outfield to cover because it's so big. The ball carries. There was like so many gappers and bloop single. It was just one of those nights. Literally miserable to watch as a Cardinals fan, though.
Yes.
Yeah. But
did you that thing Conlon sent us about Judge flying out to right against the Mets? Did they? No, that was like from a while ago, wasn't it?
Yes.
Whenever he flew out to right, and the Mets commentator was like, "That'd been a homer in Yankee Stadium."
Yeah. I think that was like a week or so before, because I think you and I sent that maybe to each other or something, or I saw it somewhere. Yeah, that was funny. And then
I think I don't know if I mentioned this last episode, but we mentioned it a lot. But that video of Edwin Diaz from the back walking out there with the trumpets, and now all like I think I sent you I don't even know what like religion it was. They played this trumpet, and they're just all these guys dancing with these weird hats on.
Yeah, and the thing is, Pat McAfee, that show that he has, he mentioned how you can't after that and just like throw a couple um very hittable pitches across the plate. I don't remember how he worded it, but you have to be electric after that because you can't get everybody hyped and going and then give up a couple bombs.
Speaking of Edwin Diaz, though, his stats are ridiculous. I had to pull
Such a
him
good
up.
year. Such a good year.
Like ridiculous. Because I saw someone post who's the best closer, and you were like, it has to be Helsley.
Yeah,
I think it may be Edwin Diaz.
it might be. It seriously might be.
He's striking out 18 batters per 9 innings.
Unbelievable.
His ERA is 1.39. Where's saves at? He has 26 saves.
I mean, Emmanuel Clase is also having a ridiculous year in Cleveland. So it was every list I saw for best closer this year. I think they give like a reliever of the year award. Haters won it the last two, I believe, but Diaz, Helsley, Clase, it's those three. The thing with Helsley, he doesn't have the set because he didn't start the year off as a closer, but the dude's got like a .59 ERA still.
It's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable. He's just throwing gas every time he comes out. And speaking of gas, Jacob deGrom. I don't know if we mentioned him being back. He is back, and dude, did my fantasy team need him so badly right now in this stretch run? No, I watched a little bit of 2 starts. I watched a little bit of both, and just 102 with ease. Mark DeRosa, do you remember him as a Cardinal?
Yeah.
He runs this MLB Central show.
I like him a lot.
Yeah. Him and Lawrence Shahadi and Brian Flores, I think that's what his name is.
Yeah.
Or Robert Flores, something like that.
Brian, yeah. He's okay.
So he was doing a breakdown of Jacob deGrom and how when people throw gas, like Helsley comes all the way across, like finishes across the mound, and it seems like a really high effort. deGrom's so smooth and easy, and just 102 with he threw a 96-mile slider the other night.
Slider?
Like, yes. I don't know how do you touch it? That's my point I made probably a month ago or so. If he was healthy this entire time, he would have the stats to be the best of all time. Because I think he's got the best stuff ever. But those injuries just kill him because he's already 34, I believe now.
He came up late. He came up when he was like 27.
Yeah. But just watching him, man, I don't know. And remember last episode we talked about you and I didn't know if it was 5 games or 3 games for the wild card. I found out it is 3 games. And
so you get the win 3, or do you just win 2?
2 out of 3.
So it's just a series.
Yeah. Yep. For the wild card. And also the home team for the wild card, which right now we're the 3 seed if the season ended right now because we're in the division lead. The home team gets all 3 games at home. So if the season ended right now, we're facing the Padres at home for 3. And then the Mets are the 2 seed. But my point was that we talked about facing Scherzer and deGrom for the first 2 games. Like you don't want to face somebody like that. And
hey, we faced Scherzer last year in the wild card, and Adam Wainwright is the GOAT at clutch games.
Adam's
Alex Reyes threw a meatball right down the. Yeah. I just don't want to talk about that
anymore. Dude, I was literally. I'm gonna
AJ, shut up. We're not talking about it.
I'm gonna be completely honest here. I was teary-eyed that night after that happened. That just like tore my heart out. After everything that happened to end the series, to end the season with that winning streak, I thought it was our year. And also, speaking of getting teary-eyed, that video that Harrison Bader posted, that got me teary-eyed, man. I know Harry isn't like some superstar player. Just seemed, I don't know. Did you watch it? Did you get to watch it?
I did watch it, yeah.
That was hard to watch for me, man. I don't know. I don't like seeing, and I know you weren't the past few years the biggest Harrison Bader fan.
No, I liked him. I just wish he would make more contact.
Yeah, that's very true. And he wrote a whole article that I read as well about
he wrote one like a while ago, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, I read those.
Yeah.
He's a good writer.
Well, he actually is. Yeah. But yeah, he was writing about the hate that he got in St. Louis and how it was all well deserved, I guess, because he was talking about how he needed to hit better and stuff like that. But yeah, I wish him the best of luck, man, and in New York where he's from. But
Yeah, which is cool.
continuing it going here around the league. Speaking of New York, the Yankees are slumping hard. They lost 2 of 3 to the Mariners. That game the other night, and I tweeted about it for us. The Mariners Yankees went to the 13th inning, the longest game inning wise since 2019, I believe they said, because of the whole guy on second base.
Stupid runner rule.
Yeah, you don't see those long games anymore. It was 0-0 into the 13th.
That's awesome.
The Mariners won. Garrett Cole was on his game. Luis Castillo. I feel like I personally even underrated Luis Castillo. Did you know he was this good? He plays for the Reds, and we see him a lot. But
he's had like sub-3 ERAs before.
He's got insanely filthy stuff. Like I didn't ever put him in the top 2 starters for a playoff series, but he's that guy. Like he's probably the Mariners' number 1. Robbie Ray has had an off and on season.
He's for sure their number 1.
Castillo's good, man. Like I mentioned, the Brewers swept the 2-game series versus the Rays. They're in town tomorrow night. St. Louis, not your town there in Jacksonville. Ryan Mountcastle and the Orioles. I put Ryan Mountcastle because he absolutely obliterates the Blue Jays. I'm seeing like a bunch of social media pages post about how he just owns the Blue Jays, but they are tied for the wild card spot in the American League right now. I'm going to go back and look at our rankings.
After selling
exactly
at the deadline.
I'm going to go back and look at our predictions for the Orioles. I'm pretty sure you and I did not have them in the wild card conversation.
No, we had them last.
Yep.
I can already tell you now I had them last. I had the Rays 4th, the Red Sox 3rd, the Blue Jays 2nd.
I had the Rays winning the division, and that's really not sitting well with me. That's a bad take.
That was a stupid decision.
That's a really bad take. And then
did you know
Phillies?
Oh, yeah, you keep going with that. I have something after you're done with that.
Yeah, I just have 2 more here. The Phillies are 14 games over 500, which they're looking really, really good here. And not to mention, they're getting, out of all the trade deadline deals, possibly the best addition. And I know you're not a fan. If Bryce Harper is Bryce Harper, that team is very scary. And then my last thing is, I'm one of those guys that sees combinations of teams, like when they play each other, some just don't make sense. Like they don't look right because they don't play.
Are you talking about the Field of Dreams game tonight?
Not really. We should have mentioned that, honestly, but that's how I was going with. I'm talking like when we play somebody, the Cardinals, that we don't usually see, like like what's a weird team? Like sometimes the Orioles, like that's a weird
Athletics.
Matchup. Yeah, exactly, like that. That's a really weird matchup.
See weird colors on the field.
Exactly, colors kind of or don't go well together. They mash a little bit. The Twins are in LA facing the Dodgers right now, and I watched a little bit of one of their games the other night, and that's just a weird matchup. Minnesota Dodgers. I don't know. Sometimes that just sticks with me. Like the Cardinals and Athletics is a very good example. That's a weird matchup.
Yeah.
Like the bright green with the red. I don't know.
And yellow. No, I was going to say is, who do you think is the AL MVP?
You know, that's a tough conversation because you know how I feel about Shohei Ohtani.
I don't think it's tough at all. The numbers back Judge. Judge has a 7.1 WAR. Shohei Ohtani has a 5, being a pitcher and a batter.
Yeah, that's. I didn't know that. That's a good stat.
Yeah, I heard that today, and I was like, that is crazy.
And with what Judge is doing, like last year, we talked about Vladdy Guerrero and Shohei run for it. And if Vladdy put up the numbers Judge was doing, like Judge is putting in, like we mentioned it last episode, otherworldly numbers that we've never seen in our lifetime. He's going to hit 65 homers, possibly. I mean, it's just he's on pace for 66, I believe. Still, he's at 45.
Aaron Judge
right
played
now.
for the Rockies. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh my gosh, he did. You know, he literally might have a chance of beating Barry's 73 or whatever it was. Unbelievable. Yeah, I'm siding with you there. I love Shohei so much. I think what he's doing, and this is a conversation for another time, I think he can go down. He's 27, 28 years old. I think he could be one of the best athletes of all time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
just his ability to do everything. But for this year, what Judge means to that lineup in New York, yeah, I'm with you.
And the
Gotta be
Angels
Judge.
like are garbage. So
Yeah, man, that's so disappointing. Colin and I, them, I think if not in the playoffs,
I had
borderline
them in the
playoffs.
playoffs.
I think I did too.
We probably will next year too.
I know, so disappointing. But anything baseball before we move on?
Nope.
We got a lot of. I have a couple signings in the NHL that happened. Mason Appleton, who was a Seattle Kraken at the end of last year, was with Winnipeg, and he re-signed with Winnipeg. 3 years, $6.25 million. He's like a second or third liner, just a good depth piece for them. The biggest signing, in my opinion, Patrice Bergeron. He's like really the engine and the I don't know how to say it. Yeah. I mean, he's just a legend for the Bruins. Him and Brad Marchand, they've just been there this entire time. And a lot of the conversation was he's either going to retire or he's going to resign. Well, him and also another older Bruins legend, David Krejci, also resigned. Both Bergeron 1 year, 2.5 mil, and David Krejci was 1 year, 1 mil. So I'm sure this is probably the last run for them. And then a couple other ones. Martin, I don't know how to say his last name. I looked it up earlier and I already forgot. Necas. Nachas is I think how they pronounce it.
One of my favorite players. Never
2
heard
years.
of him before.
he's another second or third line guy for the Hurricane. Well, he re-signed with the Hurricane. 2 years, 6 mil. Nick Roy for the Golden Knights re-signed with them as well. He was the biggest contract of the week. 5 years, 15 mil. And then Jake Wallman, former Blue defenseman, was in the deal for Nick Leddy in the middle of this year. He re-signed with the Red Wings. Also, the Red Wings, a.k.a. the Blues 2.0. They got like 6 Blues players over there. 1 year, 1 mil. So we don't have a lot of NHL to talk about, especially being the offseason. So I wanted to, for any hockey fans listening, fill you in on a couple signings there. But let's keep it rolling to Zach's hometown team. I know you're a Cowboys fan, but this is your team now, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Second team.
I'm going to let you, honestly, unless I'm going to just give my little input as you talk about them, because this is your time to shine with the Jaguars.
Time. The Clemson Tigers 2.0.
Exactly.
Then when the Raiders are the Clemson Tigers team.
I have the Jaguars at 6-11.
Ooh, I like it.
I know.
I put it down when I looked at the schedule real quick before this episode. I put them at like 5-12, but I really think they're going to be better than people think. I think Trevor's going to be a whole lot better this year, if I can speak. I was kind of like thinking of different words to put in there, but then I was like, when I was going to say that word, I was going to put it in the wrong order, and I was like, wait, hold on a second.
Yeah.
But I think Trevor's going to be a lot better this year. You don't have a nutcase Urban Meyer as your coach who likes to go to bars with other ladies, not his wife. So
Yep.
I think he's going to have a really good year with Doug Peterson, who's a really good coach. Unfortunately, he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, but it's fine. But they made a lot of offseason additions. They signed a lot of people. They signed Christian Kirk. That was probably one of the biggest to a big deal. Probably overpaid a little bit, but he's fast. I think he'll play. I think he'll be good. I think he'll get a lot of touches and be a very good receiver. He
was really overpaid, wasn't he?
Yes.
Like, I know he's going to help, and I even put it down. He's really going to help them out with their wide receiver core, because he's really their number one now, right? With Marvin Jones and Zay Jones.
Like, I would still Marvin Jones, to me, I personally would say is better, but I think Christian Kirk will. He's just younger. Marvin Jones is old, reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they signed Zay Jones. He's good. And they also have like Laviska Shenault, who was a rookie last year, is pretty good. And Laquan Treadwell. And then they signed Evan Ingram from the Giants, who is good at catching, but I think he's very bad at blocking as a tight end.
Yes. Well, didn't he have a lot of drops with the Giants?
Probably, yeah.
I could have sworn he did. I thought he was on like those low lights, because he's like, everything I remember from him is like he's a physical,
athletic.
physical specimen.
Yeah, he played at Ole Miss.
everybody has him high on fantasy every single year, and then he
Yeah.
just flops.
He's really good on Madden. He's really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
I think they have Dan Arnold, which sounds very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he played for the Cardinals.
You talking about tight end?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he was a Cardinal.
And
Yeah.
I think he was solid, but he got hurt at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I had him on a fantasy team at one point. Um, they have looking at their offensive line, I see names that I recognize. So that must mean they're like Brandon Sheriff, I think is pretty solid. Cam Robinson, solid.
With offensive linemen, that's always the way to go. I was thinking about that today. I don't know many offensive linemen, but when you list them in front of me and I know who they are, like you said, that's usually a good sign. Like, yeah, they're decent at least.
Jawan Taylor. I don't know if he's that great, but I recognize his name. Their defense has players who I don't know. I think their defense is solid. I don't know if they're going to be super good.
Yeah.
But they got the number 1 draft pick and they drafted Trayvon Walker from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the Hall of Fame game he had a sack, so that's good to see.
You weren't real high. I mean, I guess us together, we weren't real high on that, were we?
I think he'd be a good player. I just didn't think he should have been number 1.
Yeah.
I thought they should have got an offensive lineman.
And he's also less proven than Hutchinson, right?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah. I still think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be the best, but that's my personal opinion. But after seeing him get a sack in the preseason game, he got a sack. So
yeah,
I think he's like a physical specimen. I don't know if he's a little raw, but hey, he got a sack. Josh Allen on their team, he's a stud.
Yeah.
They have Shaquille Griffin, good cornerback, and a lot of guys I don't.
Former Hawk, baby. Former Hawk.
Yep. Former Hawk.
Yep.
But I think another big addition to the Jaguars is Travis Etienne Jr., who is the ACC's leading rushing yards, touchdowns, literally everything. And I have to say, he is probably one of the best football players I've ever seen in my life. The most explosive person I've ever seen. He would literally, it's so hard to explain. You just had to be there. But he would just like run, break a bunch of tackles somehow, spin, and then just go like 4.4340 down the field. And it's just ridiculous. And I also think his later years, he really worked on catching. He's going to be a really good receiving back too. And he's electric. Him and Trevor and them there, he already has a connection playing at Clemson. So I think he's going to be ridiculous. And then they have James Robinson. So I think they have a good 1-2 combo there, which I'm super excited to watch Travis Etienne.
Yeah. James Robinson, was he a rookie back last year? Is that correct? If not, like second
year before. That was his second year last year.
Okay. Man, it's already been 2 years. Because I remember that wasn't his rookie year. He really broke out.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah. I like that backfield. And you've mentioned a little bit defensively already. They were 28th in defense last year. If they can lock that down, they have the offensive weapons to be really competitive in just about every game.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I've given you some Trevor Lawrence crap the last few weeks here. I'm with you. I think he's going to have a season where he shows what he's capable of. And I know
he's so good.
I know Kirk is really overpaid. But I don't know. It's kind of, man, I should have mentioned something else at the beginning of the episode. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'll get to that in a second. But Christian Kirk, even though he's overpaid, I don't know what the free agency class was like off the top of my head. Devontae was, right? A free agent.
He went to the Raiders, though, yeah.
Besides that, like maybe it's just one of those signings that they went out and got.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe they just liked what they saw. Like obviously the Cardinals had AJ Green and
D-Hop.
DeAndre Hopkins. So it's not like Kirk was getting a ton of touches, but I guess he is really fast. So I guess they just wanted a guy who just a deep threat, really.
Yeah. And
hopefully he can develop into a more overall receiver.
So this is not football, but I have to mention this before we get into finishing our football. The Jason Hayward signing is what I was going to talk about, which for the Cubs in baseball, you know. So he said he wanted to, or the Cubs said that they are going to release him at the end of the year, I believe. He's got 1 year left on his contract.
Like 20 some million. They're like,
Yeah.
we'd rather just pay you to sit at home than play on our team.
Exactly. He's been I don't know. I don't even know how old he is now. Mid-30s, probably.
Yeah. I have a question for you, AJ. How's the young core of the Cubs?
Yeah. That's a comment that really aged poorly.
Really that pissed me off so much when it happened.
Yeah.
And I'm happy he is getting cut from a team.
Yeah. So I'm with the belief this entire time of that was a terrible signing for them. And I obviously that comment aged poorly. And I'm also in the belief that I'm so glad we did not sign him because it has been awful. But they broke it down on MLB Now with Brian Kenny about how the signing is not as bad as people think. And I really wish I would have used this as my Did You See It? Because any football fans listening to the segment, just skip through this really quick. I screenshotted the names they were talking about. Let me pull it up here. Okay. The 2015 free agent deals. So this is a year right after they lost in the NLCS to the Mets after beating us in the NLDS. And so they felt like they were on the borderline of making a World Series run. The Cubs did. So they felt like they really, in my opinion, I think they just felt like they had to make a signing that they felt put them over the top. So the free agents available were David Price. He signed 7 years, $217 million. Zach Greinke. Well, obviously, first of all, David Price has not turned out after his tremendous beginning of his career. Zach Greinke has been solid throughout his whole career. Really good some years for sure. Then there was Jason Hayward, 8 years, $184 million. Now get to these names. Chris Davis. Remember that power guy for the Orioles?
Oh, I remember Chris Davis.
Well. Justin Upton. I loved him at the beginning of his career in Arizona with Diamondbacks. He has fallen off. He's a free agent right now. Johnny Cueto,
like 39.
Yeah,
he's old.
Johnny Cueto's having a resurgent year with the White Sox, but he hasn't been good.
Johnny Cueto.
Jordan Zimmerman, you remember him for the Nationals and Tigers?
Was he a third
pitcher?
For pitcher.
Yeah, not Ryan Zimmerman. Jordan.
Oh, okay, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jeff Samardzija, former Notre Dame wide receiver. And then Wei Yin Chen made 5 years, $80 million. So they were talking about Jason Hayward, about how he was before his age 25 season, the best, like he's a top 5 age 20 season of all time. So like he had when he signed, he was like 25, 26 years old. And he's coming off a great year with us here in St. Louis also, where he almost batted 290. Like
he batted like 280.
He showed promise to where it just has not aged.
But I feel like if you even just watched him and watched his batting stance, it just was very awkward.
Very awkward for sure. But yeah, I'm leaning. I'm a little more like they won a World Series. Yeah, Cardinals are getting lit up right now.
They just hit a 3-run homer.
Oh, did they? Oh man, I just saw the 2 singles.
Yeah, we're not making the playoffs.
But no, I just wanted to throw that out there, that I thought that was interesting because he was like, they use all the analytics and he was an elite base runner. Obviously the
elite base runner, yeah.
One of the best defensive players in baseball. And he showed the offensive ability was coming, and it just disappeared. Honestly, I don't remember a guy in his prime like that like you mentioned, you could kind of tell maybe the hitting was it was weird.
We could say the same thing about Chris Davis. The promise was there he was going to hit 50 bombs for 5 years.
Yeah. And the point with that is do not throw that type of money at one player after one tremendous season or even 2 tremendous seasons. But we can continue with football here. I thought that was an interesting thing I saw.
Yeah,
but
agree.
Anything else Jacksonville wise?
No, I'm excited to watch him play. Hopefully go to a couple games.
I will say if everything goes perfect, what do you think their ceiling is? Win wise.
I would probably say I guess kind of around 500-ish.
Okay. I said 6 or 7 wins, but yeah, they definitely could.
Like ceiling, like the best they could do. They're not. I think if anything, they'll be like 7-10 or whatever.
Yeah. 7
Yeah.
10. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then our last segment here. We talked about this off the air. This is tough, man. And our quarterbacks are pretty similar, especially near the top.
Yeah.
I think our top 5 were all the same, just rearranged.
Yeah.
We're gonna not agree with this one for sure. I want to knock out my honorable mentions real quick. James Conner was an honorable mention for me.
Think of James Conner. He didn't even
I thought
cross my mind.
I know he had a really good year in Arizona. And then Javonte Williams, I think he was a rookie last year, I believe.
Yeah, he was
for Denver. Didn't even have all the carries that and touches he could have had because of Melvin Gordon over there. But Javonte was also an honorable mention. Get us started though, man.
I'll do my honorable mention. Yep. Aaron Jones from
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at the stats, buddy.
was that the name you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I was gonna put him in there until I looked at his last year and it wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah. Okay.
So my number 10 is I don't know if this is a hot take. I personally don't. It's a player who's played 10 games in the last 2 seasons. That is Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're not going to be high on our best running back list if you can. I just hit another home run.
Oh, my goodness.
You're not going to be top 5 on a list or higher if you can't stay healthy and play the last 2 years. He's played 10 games out of, I'm not doing the math, almost 30.
Yeah.
Maybe more than 30. But like, he's obviously in the top 10 just from what he can do and what he proved in his second and third year in the league, where one year he had 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards, which is ridiculous. But like, I'm not gonna put him super high just because 3 years ago he did really good. Like, he played 7 games, had 442 rushing yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
And like 343 receiving yards, which is like cool, but you're hurt.
I'm not completely against your take of that. I will prepare you. I post these videos on TikTok. Just be ready for some backlash because I'm sure people will have a problem with that.
I don't think people will. I think it's completely fair. He's literally hurt all the time. He's not like he's good, but like, honestly, if I would play in fantasy football, I would not take him.
Yeah.
That is my key. A
lot of people
do not take Christian McCaffrey. He will get hurt.
Yep. My number 10 was Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year was his rookie year, correct?
Yeah.
And I think we saw a really big workload for him last year. And that's really, with this whole list, a couple things that I take away. A lot of running backs have a lot of workload because a lot of them are really good in the passing game now, as well as the running game. It's not just like pound the football. It's just getting them touches. They're like kind of like a playmaker type player. Just get it to them and let them create. Najee Harris with Mitchell Trubisky, and I'm with you. We haven't predicted the Steelers yet, but Trubisky is not that awful. I think he's going to be solid in Pittsburgh. But with that being said, besides DeJounte Johnson over there, Najee Harris is going to have a huge workload. I think he's going to have a tremendous year. He's my number 10.
Yeah, Najee's my number 9. I was considering putting him even higher because he had a great year, 1,200 rushing yards and 467 receiving yards, until I kind of looked at his yards per average, and that was like 3.9.
Yeah.
And his reception per average was 6.3. Like, he had a ton of receptions, 74 receptions for 467 yards. So that's just like check downs basically, which like reliable because he's catching it. But I think he's gonna have a really good year. I could see him at the end of his career being top 5 for sure. He's electric.
Yeah,
a freak.
My number 9 is coming off a tremendous year for the Bengals. Joe Mixon is my number 9. And I think, like you mentioned with Najee, Mixon's still younger as well, correct? I didn't put his age down, but he's in his younger years, right?
26.
Yeah, perfect. But I think he, like you said with Najee, I think his potential is higher on this list. And as some of the running backs ahead of him get older. I know the running back age is not like it does. You don't have a long career as a running back, is what I'm trying to say.
No.
But Joe Mixon in the pass game and in the run game had a tremendous year last year, and a very explosive offense. I think I'm trying to make this list not so much of what they did last year, but what I think they'll do. And Joe Mixon is my number 9. I think he's a tremendous running back.
So my number 8 is Zeke. Last year he had a good year for like numbers for running back. He had over 1,000 yards, 1,002, and he had 287 receiving yards. He had 10 rushing touchdowns. Like these last 2 seasons haven't been ideal for Zeke, but last year he was playing with a couple knee injuries for the majority of the year, and he says he's fully healthy now. So I think he's going to have a better year. I don't think it's going to be as good as his rookie or some of those other years, but I think he's going to get over 1,000 yards rushing, and some more receiving yards too, and touches, because I think he's really still explosive, even though he's like Zeke's 27. Yeah, so he's still young. But I think him, especially with Pollard too, to take a little bit off his workload, I think he can still be dominant as he was as a rookie.
The only reason I didn't have Zeke on this list is because I think Pollard is going to get a lot of touches in Dallas this year.
I think he will too, but I think Zeke's still going to get more. It's going to be like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, kind of.
Yeah, I could see that. My number 8 was Aaron Jones. And the reason for that, and I know you're saying like based off last year,
and really the year before too.
I think without Devontae Adams, that's the reason why I have him 8, like on my list at 8. Without Devontae Adams, I think, and we've talked about the.
But what about? I think AJ Dillon will get a lot of touches.
That's true. I mean, I think I honestly do. I think now that you mentioned Dillon, I think if Dillon was on his own team, he'd be pushing it to top 10.
He's good.
Like,
he's
really good. But I think Aaron Jones, even if Dillon gets a lot of touches in the run game, Aaron Jones is going to get a lot of those little screen passes and just let him create type of thing. And like I said, without Devontae Adams, we've talked about the Packers being really weak in the wide receiver room. And I think Aaron Jones should have a huge season ahead. Should.
Yeah, I think he'll have a really good year. My number, I always forget to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is Austin Eckler from the Chargers. I at first I was almost gonna put him like farther, like not as this high, but I was looking at his stats and he had 911 yards rushing, and he had 647 yards receiving, which is really good. And I really think he could improve that. He's probably the closest out of these guys that I have. Maybe besides, he's one guy who could get 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving, possibly. But he's a huge part of the Chargers offense with Herbert just slinging it, and instead of just slinging it deep, you can just throw it a little short one and have Austin Eckler just go to work.
Exactly.
But he's super good. He had 12 rushing touchdowns and 8 receiving touchdowns, so 20 touchdowns last year. Super good, super reliable, just like what you want as a running back nowadays, I would say.
Austin was my number 7 as well. And the 911 rushing yards surprised me because I always thought of him just like a receiver type of running back. That's really impressive. So I think he's also a younger-ish guy. I think he could also have a tremendous year this year, especially with that insanely explosive Chargers offense. And team that could, make a Super Bowl run. Who knows? But yeah, he was my number 7. You touched on everything. Who's your number 6?
My number 6 is Joe Mixon. Last year was his 3rd 1,000-yard rushing season. He had a super good year last year. His yards per attempt was 4, so not like amazing. A lot of like the really elite guys have like 5, but 4 is still solid at the NFL. But he had 13 rushing touchdowns, which I thought was a lot, and not as much receiving. But I don't know why. Every time I watched him play the Bengals, he just seemed like dominant. Like no one could tackle him.
Yeah.
Honestly thought he'd have more rushing yards, but I think next year he's going to have a tremendous season because one, the Bengals will be cooking. They have all the receivers for a couple of years now. Their passing game is really good, so that's going to open a lot for Joe Mixon. Because I'm sure people would rather have Joe Mixon beat them than Burrow throwing it to Higgins and Chase
Chase.
and
Yeah.
Boyd.
Yeah. My number 6 was Alvin Kamara, and Kamara, however you want to say it. My two takeaways for him is first, stay out of trouble. I've mentioned this a few times on the episode already, but just please stay out of trouble because he's a player, and I will always remember that 5 or 6. What was it? 5 or 6
5
touchdowns?
touchdowns, I
Five.
think.
And then also they will have Michael Thomas back this year to help out Winston, but I don't know about any. I mean, Taysom Hill is kind of like all over the place, which he's a cool player and all, but what other like explosive talent do they have over there? Because I think he's in for like a huge.
They got Jameis. I think Jameis is better than people think. He's also so funny.
I mean, like weapons for Jameis.
Oh,
because besides Michael Thomas, remember it's like Marquez Callaway and
yeah,
like
they had a good connection last year though.
I think my point with that was that I think Kamara is going to have a huge workload in the run game and in the pass game.
If Taysom Hill is the quarterback, then he won't have a good because he would never throw it to Kamara.
No, exactly.
They have Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave, so they're actually a pretty good receiver.
I forgot about Landry signing there. That is a good signing. But with that being said, I still think he's going to have a huge workload. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is Kamara.
Okay.
Just solid in like everything. Running. He hasn't had a 1,000-yard rushing season yet, which is surprising to me, but he hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiving year yet. They're kind of like very similar to each other every single year.
Yeah.
He's just, when you watch him in a game, I don't know, he's just one of those guys who's so explosive and so quick to make just a cut.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
He's very, very well-rounded in his game.
Yeah, and he's also 27. So Zeke, Mixon, and Kamara are all 27, which I didn't realize they all came in around the same time, which is kind of crazy. But one of my favorite stats about Kamara is in his first 3 seasons, he had 81 catches in each season, which I just think is very funny.
Yeah, that is odd. Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's going to have a good year.
We're on 5, correct?
Yeah, that was my 5th.
My number 5 is Nick Chubb. And I've talked about like workload for everybody on this list pretty much. And the same goes for him. Kareem Hunt has been kind of stealing some carries from him the last 2 years, I guess, something like that. He requested a trade recently. Now, I don't know if that trade's going to go through.
Hunt did.
Yeah. Hunt did, yeah. So I don't know if that trade will go through before the season starts, whatever it may be.
I think it's because it's a contract issue.
That's the case that Hunt's gone somewhere else. Chubb's in for a load of work because with Watson out at least the first 6 games.
Yeah, for now. He's starting tomorrow. They play Jacksonville
That's crazy.
Tomorrow,
Nick Chubb's in for a massive season. Oh, he's just a tank. We mentioned AJ Dillon as a tank. Nick Chubb's a load of human being.
Beast. My number 4 is Dalvin Cook, who is electric to watch. Very fun to watch. Just watching him like juke, and his explosiveness is ridiculous. He played 13 games last year, had 1,100 rushing yards. He's had first career 4.7 yards per average, which is really good. He didn't have as many receiving yards as I thought he would. He only had 224, but he is a game changer, and he is very fun to watch. And I think he's gonna have a really good year this year. He's also a guy who is 27.
Wow, he just got to stay healthy.
Yes, that's the big thing with him. He hasn't played a full season his whole career. He played 13 games last year. The 2 years before that, 14.
Yeah,
and he had 1,500 rushing yards in 2020, playing 14 games. So
wow, yeah,
you just stay healthy. But my favorite is his backup, who looks exactly like him, And when he gets in and starts, he
Yeah.
plays exactly like Dalvin
Yeah.
Cook and is amazing.
Alexander Madison. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantasy saver.
Ooh, Goldie Homer.
Man, I'm always just a little behind. My number 4, and you made a lot of good points on him, but my number 4 is Christian McCaffrey. And I'm a huge believer in a guy being high on the list because of health. So that really kind of contradicts me putting him this high on my list. But I think if he puts it all together and he's healthy for 17 games, would you agree he could be? Yeah, if's huge. But would you agree he could be a number 1?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Okay.
If we were doing it after, if these last 2 seasons didn't happen and we are doing it after his
Yeah.
1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving, he'd be number 1.
Yeah. I guess I'm just really betting on that, which is a big bet because he has not proven to be healthy, but he was my number 4.
Also, he may play if he stays healthy, he may play better because Baker Mayfield is
exactly
kind of an upgrade over
Newton and Darnold.
Yeah. Even Newton a couple years ago, he still wasn't that great.
Yeah. But get us started with our final 3 here. I have my 3 and I feel like I'm missing a name, which kind of is worrying me, but go ahead.
God. Embarrassing. My number 3 is Nick Chubb. Just a beast.
Oh, okay.
He is, oh man, so fun to watch.
I'm not missing a name. That makes me feel better. Okay.
His career yards per attempt is 5.3. So that's crazy. You just get a first down and 2 carries. But last year, 1,200 rushing yards. He only played 14 games. He had an injury, but he's not a big pass catcher as he only had 174 receiving yards, but he's just ridiculous. He's just so fun to watch. He's just like a prototypical running back. He just runs over people, breaks tackles, is fast, just awesome. I just love watching him. He's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's very exciting. What, did Nato get one?
Yep, back to back. Sorry,
I'm literally like 2 pitches behind.
Speaking of home runs, Nick Chubb is a home run.
There you
Get
go.
the home run.
Good connection.
Yeah.
My number 3 was Dalvin Cook.
He's gonna have a big year this year too, especially with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So my number 3 was Dalvin Cook, and I think he is. If McCaffrey's fully healthy, he has a case to be the best. I mentioned dual quarterback last episode, being able to run really well and throw really well. So in this case, being able to catch, receive really well and be able to run really well. I think McCaffrey has the potential to be the best dual running back.
Oh, for sure.
In my opinion, Dalvin Cook is there right now. I think he's elite in both categories. And again, like we mentioned when you talked about him, it's health for Dalvin Cook. But even though Kirk Cousins gets a lot of hate, he can find Dalvin Cook. He has weapons, man. Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Osborne, I believe, is over there as well. So, Cook was my number 3. I think he's a tremendous running back.
My number 2 is Jonathan Taylor. Led the league in rushes, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, the length of a run, 83 yards, yards per game. Basically, just had a career year last year.
Oh my goodness!
As a rookie, he had 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns, which I really didn't realize, but just ridiculous. 1,800 yards rushing, 18 touchdowns, average 5.5 yards per attempt on I think he had the more rushes than any of these other players on this list, 333, which is ridiculous. If Derrick Henry was fully healthy, he may have had just as many, but just elite. And he's only 23. So to me, this is who I would take number 1 on fantasy.
Without a doubt. He
is insane and very fun to watch and play. It just seemed like every game you're just waiting for that big run from Jonathan Taylor. Watching Red Zone, it's like they flip to the Colts game and you're like, oh, what did Jonathan Taylor just do?
Yeah, what a season for him last year.
And I think the Colts will be better. They have Matt Ryan as their quarterback, and I think Jonathan Taylor is gonna have a super
year. I'm really happy with you, Zach, right now. I'm really happy you put him number 2 because I had Derrick Henry number 2 on my list, and I'm a huge Derrick Henry fan. I think he is still the scariest running back in the league. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind. Like, he's so scary, like intimidating as can
He's
be.
6'3", 247 pounds.
we don't see running backs like that, for sure. So he was my number two. I'm sure he's your number one, so you can carry it with the Derrick Henry love.
Yeah, so my number one is Josh Jacobs from the Las Vegas Raiders. No, it's Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Like if he didn't break his foot last year, oh my God, he was averaging 117 yards per game last year.
Mm-hmm.
Which with the 17 game season, he could have broke the rushing record, I think. And I really hope his foot stays healthy and he gets back to his crazy self, because in 2020 he had 2,000 rushing yards. The year before that, 1,500, and he led the league in both. He led the league those 2 years in rushes, yards, touchdowns, and yards per game. So I just gave it to him because, like, I know we got hurt and we're talking about injuries. It's not like McCaffrey's been hurt like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He played half the year, broke his foot. It's really his first injury. He hasn't really been injured.
Yeah.
So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He was playing ridiculous until he got injured. He had ridiculous years before that. And he's just, my only advice is go for the legs.
For real. Yeah, for real. And then my number one is Rashad Penny for the Seattle. No, I'm just joking. Jonathan Taylor was my number one. And I almost put him there because I feel like you would give me crap if I didn't put him there, but you put Derrick Henry there.
Yeah, I was debating, but I was like, Derrick Henry just had a couple more proven, I would say.
Definitely.
But also not because he just got injured. So.
I did not know Jonathan Taylor was 23. That is insane.
He was also ridiculous in college at Wisconsin.
Yeah, I do remember that. But 1,800 rushing yards, 20 total touchdowns last year. Not to mention an amazing offensive line. I know Quentin Nelson gets a lot of praise. I don't know the names, but all the stats and all the analytics and all the rankings show that offensive line is top notch in the league.
Yeah,
which really helps him out. But like you mentioned, in the passing game, I'm not a Carson Wentz hater. I think he's still good enough to be a starting quarterback.
He is a starting quarterback. He's playing for the Commanders.
What'd you say?
I said Carson Wentz is on the Commanders.
Yeah, I was saying like last year he had Carson Wentz.
Oh,
so like I'm not with like the Carson Wentz hate. But my point is Matt Ryan is better than Carson Wentz. So I think that'll even help even more, like you mentioned, with the pass game with Jonathan Taylor. But we could look back at this in about a year, man, when we do this again, and we could be saying there's like 4 or 5 guys that could be making a case for that number one. There's a lot of good running backs, and we left a few even off the list. I mean, I really like Antonio Gibson for Washington. I know he's probably not top 10, obviously, but neither of us had him. Yeah. But he's top 15. Saquon Barkley, if healthy, could be electric.
If he's healthy like he was his rookie year, he'd be top 10.
What are some other names I'm missing here?
I honestly think ETN, if he has a really good rookie year, could be considered top 10, not like top 5. Electric.
Yeah.
James Robinson probably last year was in some people's top 10s off his rookie year. Melvin Gordon probably wouldn't be in anyone's now, but a couple of years ago he was in a top 10. There's a lot of good running backs, I feel like, in the league.
I'm seeing a lot of people talk about Bryce Hall,
yeah, from Iowa State.
For the Jets. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about him. And Josh Jacobs, he even is a good run. I mean, he's probably not top 10, but he's a good running back.
Yeah, and I'm on a fantasy team.
I joked about Rashad.
Amazing. He gets the job done.
He's solid, yeah. And I talked about Rashad Penny in a joking way, but he's going to be the lead back for Seattle now. Yeah, and he showed he could be like really good last year when healthy. He has had such bad injuries.
Isn't he like the NCAA like career rushing leader or something? He went to like San Diego State.
Yeah, he might be. But I'm still so hurt with Chris Carson, man, because that dude's ability, like he's top 10 running back in the league. I really believe that. And for him, borderline, if you disagree. But I think, man, him helping out with like Russ, and I mean, that team was offensively so gifted. But sadly he had to retire.
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers definitely.
He was hurt all year last year until the postseason.
Definitely. For sure. But that was our running back ranking. We will have wide receivers this Sunday. And what else we got to say here? The Cardinals are hopefully making a comeback by the time we see you guys next time. And
I hope so.
anything to send us off with, Zach?
Nope. Thanks everyone for listening. See you
Enjoy
guys
your
next
weekend,
time.
everybody.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend.